Good morning. Better late than never, am I right? As we wait for the music to load. Here we go. Good morning, good morning. Ahoy, LJ Gibbons. Good to see you in the building today. Now, today's stream title is not actually, it's actually very literal. I'm spinning ribbon today. What I have here is I have a big spool of ribbon, which is, goodness gracious, I gotta try to get this not so tangled up. That's what I want to do. And I'm going to be spooling some new spools of ribbon for my typewriters because it is a task I need to do. Frankly, I am not feeling too poetic this morning, but it is good to have you in the house. I've been busy. The mornings have been, oftentimes I'm running behind, running late. A lot of times I don't even get on here, but the point is this morning I showed up. And that's part of half the battle, is just showing up. That's kind of where I am feeling emotionally right now, is just making sure that I show up, making sure that I try to be the best I can be in this moment. knowing that at a certain point, either this stream or another stream, the poems will come, and it will be a good thing. So that is how I am doing. The better question is, how are you, LJ? It is good to see you here. It is good to have you here this morning, even if it's just for a little while, but I hope that you and your family are doing well, that the singing goes well. Again, I have been really busy, have not been able to check it out as much as I want to, but it's good stuff that you are singing indeed. So yeah, so as you can see here, what I'm starting to spool ribbons. I have a large spool right over here of typewriter ribbon that I get from Wisconsin, and I use that to spool smaller ribbon spools. Some of my ribbon spools are just good working ribbon spools. Like these ones right here, you can see that this is all kind of rusted up, messed up, but it's an old original metal spool. So as a result, be able to get it to spin. LJ says, I'm proud of you. If that means a thing to you, it does mean a thing to me. Thank you so much. I think part of it is going to be a cutting back in some of the other areas of my life to make sure that something like this is possible. Not too hard, not too heavy, but and also the systems. Like at the height of things in early February, I had a really good system going. I planned out my streams. I was, made sure that I was working on projects, all that. Taking off was important for a little bit of mental health space, but it did end up kind of setting me back a little bit, which, just is okay. That's what happens. Sometimes you just, you go to say, you have to take a necessary break, and then when you come back, you're not exactly doing the same. So, as a fellow East Coaster, I asked, any herring this morning? You might have answered, no herring this morning. No herring. I've never actually heard that before. And there are also all the subcultures up and down the East Coast. Where exactly are you located, LJ? Not exactly located. That would be weird. This is the internet. But where are you generally located? And easier to say is in the building. Good morning. We are spinning ribbon this morning. I have a little ribbon spool, and I'm creating a new spin ribbon, which then I will test out on this typewriter that I have here. And I'm sorry I do not get the reference, LJ. This is good. We got 3 people here, and I am spinning ribbon. So maybe, and Sidratech is also in the building. Maybe 7:30 is a better time for me. Maybe that's the good that comes out of this. Good. Found a new stream time. I've done 7:30 before, then I've oscillated back down to 7. But I don't know if trying to do 7 is just me trying to push my my discipline, or if I say 7:30, am I going to start streaming at 8? Ain't that the tendency, right? Well, good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. Because believe it or not, one of the other reasons why I'm not writing is because what I want to write is actually a prose essay. A friend of mine is starting a magazine, a religious magazine, and I actually, you talked to me about 8 years ago, I should say. I was doing lots of religious nonfiction writing, which was fun in some ways, the blogging sphere, everything like that, but also was kind of divisive at points. But he's got this new way of trying to look at it so that we aren't divisive. And so I'm going to be kind of trying that out. And so I had some ideas this morning, but I was like, this is the poetry studio. And so I'm not going to bring those on here. Like, that's an absolute resolute no. But I've actually thought at certain points about possibly still using them sometimes in the space to be able to work on my letters, be able to work on other things like that. I plan on writing a Kira letter. And being able to not use the typewriter camera at that point, so just kind of talking. But really, I kind of disagree with that as well, because this is the poetry studio. It's a point where we are poetic. It's a little half hour in the day when I get to exercise that muscle, except when I have to spin ribbon. Sometimes you fish, sometimes you cut bait. That's perfect, easier to say. I think that is the motto for this stream. In fact, you know what? I'm going to change the stream title because that's just perfect. Sometimes you fish, sometimes you cut baits. I love that. Update. And now we have a poem prompt. So LJ Gibbons is teaching me the lingo of Nova Scotia. He says, if you were having a better day, you would have answered, yeah, lots of herring this morning, big catch. I'd say, how? You might say, I tried fishing on the other side of the boat. Good morning, Telemoni and Dan. Good to see you in the house. Spinning ribbon. My entire family is from Newfoundland. I guess that's what... I think that's what NL means, right? What's NL? Easier to say says, does writing longhand produce differently from typing it out? Yeah, my longhand is notoriously chicken scratchy. It's extremely chicken scratchy. I tend to do very bad with it. So I don't write longhand, except in my journals and my notebook. Here, I can kind of give you an example. So ignoring, yeah, like this is a very tame section of my book that you guys can check out. This is my little notebook. There we go. This is what my chicken scratch looks like. Oh, there's someone's email in there. I should probably take it down. But the point is there is a lot of... I just scrawl across the page. We had a really interesting experience. I went out to great Newfoundland and Labrador. Great. I guessed right on that one. Good context. Easier to say. Making fun of Newfoundland in chat. LJ says, how do you exercise your willpower muscle? Well, I was coming up with every excuse in the book not to come on it today. And it's funny because you gotta evaluate. On one hand, you want to do the things that are delightful to you. On the other hand, you want to push yourself to do the things that you know will make yourself delightful. And that's where the stream sometimes sits for me. I mean that sometimes. A lot of times, if I'm not enthusiastic about it, it's more so because I just didn't push myself quick enough to get onto the stream in the morning. And lateness is a tough thing for me because I ADHD, so I'm late all the time. I'm all the time late to everything. But I hate being late to things. So it's just like torturous sometimes. So this morning I was like, oh, 7:05. When I finally was like kind of getting out of the shower, getting ready for the day, I was like, oh, 7:05. And then I talked to my wife a little bit before she left, and I was like, oh, 7:15. And then I got the computer over here. I was like, oh, it's 7:20. And I kept like beating myself up over it. And I was like, go shut up, just go stream. Go spin some ribbon. Even if it's just you talking to the computer on your own, then you're having a good time, you're committing yourself. Over here. And I hope that all doesn't sound vain. I hope it's, if anything, I hope it's a good illustration of maybe the fact that we all kind of deal with a little bit of that. I have ribbon spools everywhere. I need a pair of scissors. I'm gonna quickly put us in pause. I'm back. And we're about to finish our ribbon spool. And then what I do, sometimes you just have to spool ribbon. Right, so then, okay, this is interesting. Where's my screwdriver? There we go. Screwdriver. So spooling ribbon is easy, but I don't do it right. Just as a little FYI for those out there that might be ambitious about spooling ribbon themselves. I am supposed to add grommets so that the ribbon automatically reverses in the typewriter, but I have yet to find the right type of grommets, or grommets that are to my satisfaction, I should say, to be able to properly I have yet to find the grommets that are good to my satisfaction, so I just spin the ribbon without the grommets. That's slip off a little bit. And there we go. That is how you spin ribbon. There you have a ribbon. And people are always like, oh, where do you get ribbon for these things? How do you get ribbon for these things? It's like, you buy a big bulk and you spin it yourself, all the old spools that you pull off the typewriters that you buy. And that is how you get ribbon. And I have another spool over here, but I'm feeling more poetic because I think that I could reflect a little bit on our new stream title, which is sometimes you fish and sometimes you cut bait. Sometimes you get ribbon all over the place. Any wooden spool out there? Yes, actually. I had to spool on a wooden spool. Well, technically, so the way it works with a wooden spool is that there's a wooden core spool, and then you put a little metal bracket around it, and that's what actually the ribbon attaches to. But the metal bracket clicks into the wooden spool. It's kind of a weird little, like, hook in. That's what Oliver has. Oliver has wooden spools. And I'm using Oliver's original wooden spools, I think. I don't think I got new spools for it. But you can buy new spools for Oliver, too. It's insane what people have been doing out there. Some crazy nut on Etsy still doing Oliver repop spools. Because he knows somebody's going to buy them. Is that the right side up? Let's see if I can give you guys this view now. Actually put it in the typewriter. And I in my schedule today, I've set aside 2 hours to actually work on trying to organize the creative side of the poetry stuff. And that's part of what has been my issue over the past few weeks, is I have not actually just sat down and spent the time doing it. Something else comes up, emails come by. You gotta discipline yourself to sometimes say, all right, there's nothing else I'm going to do in this 2 hour period except plan the stuff that's not easy to plan. Our minds tend towards easier tasks. I notice that all the time. I'm like, God, I want to, I would prefer to answer emails because it's all right there up on the screen instead of sit there with an open spreadsheet and say, what are my creative projects going to look like? How am I going to submit? Submitting's still scary for me. Telemony and Dan says, maybe because I'm chronically single, the title of the stream has me thinking of dating apps. That is actually a good metaphor. I mean, all the fish in the sea, right? Right. Now, part of the other part of this plan is, I remember what held me up earlier was that I didn't have a typewriter on this desk. I finally took off the behemoth that was here. The Olympia was just taking up too much room on the desk. But I need to work on my typewriters so I can actually use them and test them out on the stream. That should be the system that I want to do. Is I want to repair typewriters, and then when I finish repairing a typewriter, I then test it out on the stream for like a week or two. And then it goes up for a rent or sale on my website, which is a program I'm slowly trying to get off the ground. But my website isn't cooperating in setting up the rent or sale side of things. And then I don't repair my typewriters, and then I just have this big behemoth typewriter sitting on the desk. So I literally took it off. This morning I was like, there's no typewriter on the desk. How am I going to do the stream? Well, you're going to do the stream by putting a typewriter on the desk. So this is an old typewriter that I had on here before. Maybe I'll be able to put a reference or two to the fish in the sea, Telemony and Dan, while I'm at it. Here we go. Let's get some paper in here. Oh goodness, my magic markers. A little preview announcement. Next week, I will probably be taking off, even though I haven't really been streaming as it is anyway, because I will be home. I may not take off completely. It's Eastertide, and I'm on vacation. Right when I'm going to probably get myself disciplined enough to do the stream on a regular basis, I'm going to have to take off. And a brand new ribbon, just like that. Oh, goodness, I don't typo the title. Yeah, let's reverse this around. Oh, hello, camera going off. We have a technical issue that we're going to resolve very quickly. Because I forgot to take the battery out of the camera and put it in the... Alright, let's see if that fixed it. There we go. Hello, camera. Do your thing. And let's get this back to an angle that is more fitting. There we go. Well, that was a very quick change. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Repair. Yeah, I think there's a book like that, Zen and the Art of Typewriter Repair, to which many typewriter enthusiasts laugh and say, where is the Zen in typewriter repair? I find it very Zen. But you gotta commit to the Zen though. That's the thing, is like, I have half I have like half-built typewriters, or like typewriters with the tops pulled apart and everything. That in that moment I was like in the zone. I was working on it, and then I spent 2 hours on it, and I said, well, I need to take a break, or like I need to stop doing this for today because it's a busy day today. And then I ended up just never going back to it. Tomoni Dan says, we need a book about the Zen and the art of typewriter poetry. Well, that is very Zen. I can tell you that typewriter poetry is an extremely Zen thing. There are still un-Zen parts of it that I'm working out. When part of why I'm really excited to have this new full-time job that I'm getting is because when you put too much pressure on the you gotta actually busk and make money part of it, then a slow day is torturous. But when you're out on the street and you have people coming up to you, it's very nice, but sometimes it could also be a little stressful when you have too many people coming up to you and you create a queue. But being surrounded by, if you're a people person, being surrounded by people and then having a machine and writing in the middle of it, it's this really unique balance of community and solitariness. It's almost like a monk in the middle of a city. I've had that feeling before. I think we're starting to build the outline of our book here. Zen and the art of typewriter poetry. Because LJ has a good point here. With the clickety-clack. There's a rhythm to it. I mean, honestly, you know what I'll do is whenever there's like a band or somebody playing, and there's a drummer in me that kind of does this, you know, I'll tap on the machine when I'm out on the street. Yeah, I used to be a drummer in a previous life, so the whole thing, just rhythm, is insane. I need to look up a word. Look at this. Looking up a word. Oh, that's not what I want. PDC. So we have to reverse this stuff. Reversal? There we go. What does this keep? Oh, this keeps moving over because I don't have my typewriter map now. Tomoni Dan says it makes sense you have a good rhythm. Found that rhythm and flow is a key part of poetry. Yes, but sometimes my rhythm is chaos. I think that it might be better for me to start doing a little more structure in my poems, because I think that it works when I read it, it works when I give it to them. But I don't know, people like it, so I don't know what to do. We all learned some sort of rhythm, at least when we fell asleep to a beating heart. Philharmonic dance says is a rhythm in chaos too, not necessarily a rhythm that we can see or know intellectually, but a rhythm that strikes a chord deep within our subconscious soul. That's beautiful. And I think that if anything, if my poetry is doing anything, it's kind of striking that. But it's ambitious. And I wonder sometimes, yeah, I wonder if that sometimes I'm not striking it right, or when sometimes if it's just kind of like a light show of dazzlement instead of it being more of a practical, helpful exercise. But it's true. Maybe that's why people do like what I'm doing. On the street more so. Like, I know why you guys like it. Well, thank you again for being here, of course. And thank you to the lurkers. I know you're out there. Or the rewatchers and the replays. You guys don't get enough shout-outs. Easier to say I had a question about typing as opposed to regards to expressing one's thought. To writing as opposed to expressing one's thought. Got that right. Well, I basically had said that my writing is chicken scratch, so it just doesn't feel as neat. There are, like, I hate to completely stereotype, but often women's handwriting is extremely neat. And that's not a universal thing. It's a tendency, but I would say that there's a tendency to write more when your handwriting is neat. But it's funny because a lot of people that like handwriting a lot are neat handwriters. But my handwriting's chicken scratch, so it doesn't feel neat to me. It doesn't feel ordered. Typewriting feels very ordered. So that's how it kind of changes for me. When I used to write poetry in notebooks, which is how I kind of dealt with my chaos in college, I was writing neater at the time. Oh, I'm sorry for yawning. I was writing neater at the time. And though this opens up a whole can of worms, which I'm not able to get into right now, I was writing neater because I was on a stimulant medication. As a result of that, I wrote more because I could understand what I was reading more, and because it made sense to me. LJ says, so it's a technical issue. Yes, I would say precisely. But that's not necessarily a qualifier. There are some people that are total chicken scratch writers that love writing and handwriting. Calligraphy is a whole nother ball game. At a certain point, if your chicken scratch becomes so curvy, it becomes calligraphy and it's art again. That's the way I like to describe calligraphy. But there's other forms of calligraphy that are not like that. I get a very nostalgic feeling when I write with my, with either my fountain pen or ink and quill. So this is my ink and quill pen. I actually have one. This is the type of pen that you would dip into a thing of ink, right? Have to dip again. So it's fun. to do that when I'm feeling like I want to feel very old-fashioned. So it does change the mentality there. This is my fountain pen. It's a little more modern, but there's a feeling when writing with ink and quill for fountain pen that's more elegant than chicken scratch with a ballpoint. Forget a ballpoint. I don't think there'll ever be a time when I write creatively with a ballpoint again, except if I'm found without a ink and quill pen or typewriter. And to kind of cap that all off, that's the only time when handwriting is good for me, is if I'm caught in a situation where it's literally just me and my notebook. Church, I will write notes down in church if I think of them in that notebook and then translate it into poetry later on. Good morning, Cherry Hazelnuts. Good to see you here on the morning stream. We're writing about cutting bait or fishing. Thank you again for the shout out on the 366 stream. That was really wonderful. Thank you again. Easier to say says my new hobby, carving runes. See, that's where handwriting becomes a thing. Like if you want to go down the handwriting versus if you want to go down the handwriting versus typewriting rabbit hole, then you have to talk about one of the most eclectic forms of typewriting, which we're going to do now, because this is too good to miss up and to blow past. You have to talk about the Chinese typewriters, which are utterly incredible machines. And there are a couple of them, but I want to find my favorite. I think I think this one is my favorite. Here we go. All right. I guess I have to allow ads. Give me a second. This is good. Okay, great. This is an article about a collector of Chinese typewriters. And there's two that are my favorite. Goodness gracious, this stupid computer won't load. You're probably, okay, yeah, another pop-up, thank you. I'm trying to run a stream here. I probably have dropped, all right, here we go, there we go. Goodness, you see, this is what happens when I let ads in. So there's a nice Chinese typewriter for you. See, it's like it's messing with my stream here. Because that's I had to let in advertisements. I didn't want to let in advertisements. So let's see if I could go back to something that's a little more, a little easier to load. But yeah, so. The thing is why am I talking about Chinese typewriters now? Because the confluence, the Chinese language is essentially handwritten. The fact is it was developed to be handwritten, and only handwritten, really. So then when you try to translate the handwritten to a machine, you get the most interesting creations. This is the one I want. This is what I want. Because this is the Japanese typewriter. Okay. I want this. All right. We're going to throw a video up here in a second from the Typewriter Collector YouTube page, which is a fantastic YouTube page. I think we're dropping a bunch of frames here, but hopefully I'll be able to get this to work. So I'm going to show you guys a quick video because this is what happens when you try to take the handwritten, the essentially handwritten, and you try to make it into a machine. And share screen. Share screen. Where's share screen? There we go. So what you're seeing there is that there is this massive wheel with literally hundreds of characters on it. And he is rolling through this wheel to find the characters he wants. And then they punch it in. This is the Japanese typewriter. And so this is what happens when something essentially handwritten, because of such a uniqueness of the language, is brought into the world of mechanics. And obviously, a machine like this is very different than basically an English language typewriter, where if you know the Phoenician style of the alphabet, I love referencing the Phoenician style of the alphabet in my poetry, then you are able to kind of pick it up real quickly. But here, you need to know all these characters. You need to know where they're all located. Weeks and weeks of training. And then there you go. So you see there, that is the Japanese Toshiba typewriter. And we're back. Let's get back to my machine over here. And now the computer is not loading. There we go. That's what I wanted. Thank you. Oh, garbage. No, I'm just typing this. There we go. Brushstrokes rather than handwritings is easier to say. Terry Hazelnut says cool, and LJ says brilliant. Indeed. One day I hope to own a typewriter like that. Cool historic thing. There was one for sale in my area for a long time. A little different index typewriter, but still a cool one. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. This was an exercise in really just what happens when you show up. You know, I showed up. I honestly was very close to not showing up this morning. So thank you again, everybody that was in the chat today. Thank you to the lurkers and the replay hearers. LJ, easier to say. Telmoni and Dan. Cherry Hazelnuts as well. Really appreciate you all being here. This is Sometimes You Fish, Sometimes You Cut Bait. My head is spinning, not ready for the waves of decaffeinated mornings. Instead, I will settle seaside. Let daring souls ride out to the red at morning sailor's warning. To take it slow, listen to the rhythm of the birds callin' for the oncoming summer. I will prepare my tackle, check my reels and wind my string. Try to prepare for the big one that is down in the deep, untricked, untempted by easygoing endeavors. And I find my knife paring, herring is preparing, the blade of mind cultivating casual conversation over the imagination of the machination of the next catch. Sometimes you fish, sometimes you cut bait. LJ, do you know if they use herring as bait? I took a leap of faith on there, and in future poems, I would want to make sure I get that right. Thanks so much for streaming today. You've rippled your beliefs and have helped to make them a law for everyone. Well, thank you, LJ. I will have to do some thinking over whether the stream shall remain at 7 or maybe push it to 7:30 for ease of mind. Thank you so much, everybody, again, for being here. And as always, if you ever want requested poetry, if you ever have something on your mind, if you ever want to organize a class for poetry for teenagers, Cherry Hazelnuts, then we could always pair up and set something up together. So that would be fun. Obviously, Caroline, we've been in contact before, so I figured that'd be a little funny jest. But anyway, so good to be here, so wonderful, and thank you all for helping make this morning a great morning where we were cutting bait and preparing for the big one.